prior to 1990, when the Vegetation Management Act came in 1999, if you went back to the 50s, where the land was basically leasehold, you were required to clear so much every year. That was actually a requirement that was one of your leasehold requirements, and if you didn't do it, then your lease could be taken off you. The 1999 Act was a one-size-fits-all act, and it just made the rules the same all over the state. So then there was a progression of amendments and regulations and various things going through, as you say, right until 2018. In doing and what was happening to the tree population of the state. In doing so, there was sort of not an overall holistic view of individual environments. Again, the VMA Act said what you could do in a rainforest was the same as what you could do where we lived, which was an arid zone grassland woodland systems. Through what I'm seeing, even though I don't live in that environment anymore, through what I'm seeing is that people are recognising that it is more complex than just having an act that says we're going to call these trees original trees and we're going to call these trees non-original trees, and you may be able to do something in the non-original trees, but you can't do anything in these other trees. And it's just not as simple as that.
No, and going back to that point around on the property providing habitat and environment for flora and fauna, is there a sort of lack of understanding, do you think, at a regulatory level, at a conceptual level, when academics talk about it, when universities teach environmental management? Do you think there's a lack of recognition that landholders are actually probably the most invested in protecting the species richness and biodiversity and habitat on their own properties?
I think to a reasonable extent that's true, because again, landholders aren't one size fit all. But generally, I think landholders, or the people that I knew, would be looking at, like, they're not going to go into the riverbeds and knock down the old red river gums, and like, it just doesn't work like that,
Yeah.
And you're constantly looking at your land and trying to keep this balance.
Yeah, and is that, in some part, there's obviously the emotional or human element and attachment to the land, but also there's an economic imperative driving that, consciousness about the environment.
You have to manage to exactly what the environment provides you. To me, a land manager is constantly monitoring. And, we've become much more sophisticated about it, but I think there's an instinctive, when you live there and your whole life is about observation. Yes, you're observing your cattle, but you're also observing the grass. And, like, your land is the nourishment for everything else you do. So I believe there's a very strong imperative to look after it as best you can, married with, yes, you want to be able to live there and educate your children.